Well, actually, malware is everywhere. Malware is the new war technique that is being used by many countries and individuals as well. It can be as small as attacking an individual for financial gain, or even just attack for the purpose of proving oneself. I'll give you an example to that. Many technical people have amazing technical skills, but they're not able to work for a company. And so what they do is they try to maliciously attack computers and networks just to prove to themselves and the community that they have the technical ability. Now, this can be at a smaller scale. Like we see ransomware a whole lot these days when teenagers look at porn websites, and once they go in there, a cookie or a malware in general, not just a cookie, goes into their computer and it turns their camera on, which opens the window for ransomware. So malware is such a huge word because it can include many things, including ransomware, phishing attacks, and many others. So in short, this actually can be a very small attack that hurt individuals, or a huge attack that hurts even countries and organizations. It is somehow effective. It is not totally effective. It is just like wearing a padded suit and standing in front of a train. Now, will the padded suit protect you from the impact from a train? Well, partially, yes. Maybe it will not cause as much injury, if you're not wearing a padded suit. And depending on where you're going to be thrown, whether to the side or if you're going to be thrown on a track, and then that will cause even more damage. So automation is good to some extent. Now, nothing replaces the human factor. So if I receive an email from a bank, or an email address that looks like a bank, so let's say Bank of America USA.com, I should be very suspicious because Bank of America is bankofamerica.com, not bankofamerica.usa.com. So I should always be looking at clues within a certain email or a certain text, especially if for those who would include links that I need to click on, and those who are deemed urgent. So if something says, or if an email or a text message says that I have to do this immediately, or else I will be in trouble, or my password will be revoked or changed without my knowledge, and I need to click it right away, that is an indication, that urgency is an indication that there is an issue. Now, going back to your question, automation is great, and I use anti-malware malware myself in my computers, but nothing replaces the human factor. So every time I receive something that is of a concern due to a link that I need to hover on to find out where it's actually going to take me, an email address, or even just an urgent matter, I have to be looking further to find out if this is legit or not. Well, this actually goes back to the previous question. They are reliable, but let's think about it this way. If you're taking the flu vaccine, how effective that will be with COVID-19? Probably not very much effective. And so it all depends on the virus definitions or the malware definitions in the malware program to be able to protect against certain malwares. So if I'm using a malware and a malware anti-malware software, and I am not updating the definitions, then it will be useless, because I will be getting viruses and malware from everywhere, and they will be attacking my systems. So yes, they are effective, but I have to make sure that I'm taking the correct vaccine, which is updating the virus definitions. Now, the other part of the answer to this question is that there are many large companies that are doing very well in updating the virus definitions very quickly as soon as a malware comes out. However, there are some that take longer. And the problem is, if they're a malware, if there's a malware that goes into your system, sometimes fixing it after the fact is not as easy as detecting it and prohibiting it from affecting your system. And so it is very important when you're selecting an anti-malware software automation system that you're putting in your computer that you use a reputable one that stood the test of time, has been there for many years. You should also look for reviewers for that anti-malware so that you can see what others say about it. And of course, this changes all the time. So, companies are always striving to be up to date with such an issue with malware, because hackers and attackers are always one step ahead. We're trying to defend a damage that is already in the world existing. We're just trying to protect ourselves from this damage coming to our system. We're not trying to remove that damage. We cannot ignore the fact that malware is there and it's affecting other systems. What we're trying to do is being proactive and securing our own systems based on malware definitions, virus definitions, updated software. That is very important. But of course, goes back to my previous answer, nothing replaces the human factor. So we have to be very cautious on what we click on. Now, there are some trends, especially here in the United States. Many attackers attack systems and individuals about taxes in the month of April. And you see many attacking on shoppings around the month of December for Christmas. So we have to be very careful about, especially in the periods in which there are peak attacks, to be very careful. For example, IRS will never give you a phone call to request a settlement on your back taxes. They will always send you mail, registered mail. They will never send you an email. So when you receive such a thing, you always have to be very suspicious. Now, I'll give you another example. I think Tuesday, I received a phone call from someone in the state of Maryland, and he was saying that my power bill hasn't been paid for a long time, and they're coming to my house to cut power. Now, of course, the first thing that alerted me is that the call is not coming from the state in which I live. And so what I did is I hung up the phone immediately and then went to the website, called the power company, and asked them. I also looked at my account, and I saw that all the bills were paid on time and I don't have anything due. So the sense of urgency, the sense that power is going to be cut off in the next 15 minutes if you don't pay me this, will trigger individuals to reach out to their wallet and give their credit card right away. And that is a huge mistake. Well, I use McAfee. I like McAfee a whole lot. I've done a lot of research about them. I've used them for many years, and I'm very comfortable with them. I also like that they are implemented in all my computers and devices at home. But that is not to say that Norton is not just as good, or many others are good. The reason why I'm saying this is because if you go to the internet and look for the best malware or anti-malware software in 2022, and then you search for the best anti-malware software in 2021, you will see different ratings. It's all about consumer ratings based on people's experience. And so it is unfair to say that there is one anti-malware software that is way better than others, because it depends on my own opinion based on the attacks I received and the attacks I was contributing to. I contribute to the attacks to my machine about what I click. So I really should not be blaming the anti-malware for something like this. In short, there are so many products that are so great and they do an amazing job. The most important part is to do your research, update the software. If I have a McAfee and I did not update it for a year and I got attacked, I can't really complain about McAfee or blame McAfee for not doing their job. They have done their job right. It's just that I did not update the malware definitions, and so I am the one responsible for it, not them. And I see that many reviewers on websites attack anti-malware companies for attacks that the individuals are responsible for. So nothing, no automation will replace the human brain. We have to trust our judgment, not to rush responding to a threat. Instead, research it, take your computer offline, put it in airplane mode, isolate it from the network so that the danger is not spreading, and apply common sense. Research the topic, research, find out, call the anti-malware company, but do not act in a hasty way, because that can cause more damage. Well, it all depends. It depends on the type of malware itself, and it depends of how it already affected a system. So if it did not affect the system and I have an anti-malware software that detects it and removes it, then that's very easy. But if malware is already in my system, I have to look for that specific malware and what it does, how it affects my system. If I'm using Windows, I have to see whether it changed Windows keys or not, whether it deleted or updated DLL files or not. So that task, the malware remover, becomes much more difficult that way. Now, the problem is that once it affects the system, it might even affect the anti-malware software by disabling its ability to remove that malware. So we have to be very proactive. We have to, again, not take any hasty decisions about it. Do the research, find out what others say about it, and call the company that's used for anti-malware and find out from them. My strategy is to always research and find out a lot of information, talk to technical people who make the anti-malware, so that I can be very effective in finding out the scope of the malware. Now, malware can be something easy. I mean, I give my students in my classes an exercise to change the extension on Excel files, for example. So rename it and call it .txt, and then they open it in Notepad and just remove one character, even a space from that file. Save it back to Excel, and then that file is deemed unusable at that point. So malware, they don't have to be very difficult or very technical to cause huge damage. It can be something as simple as just removing a character from an Excel file in text mode in Notepad, and then renaming it again. That can cause huge damage to all Excel files on the computer. So always research, always take your time into finding out the scope of the problem, because without understanding the full scope of the problem, you might be treating symptoms, you might be treating part of the scope, but then the rest of it that you haven't treated is going to come back and haunt you. Well, when I receive malware, I always look at the source of it. I look at the technical reviews about it, and that's the only way that it can be handled. I also work with a company that makes the anti-malware. So like I said in the previous part, I have to do my due diligence in finding out the scope and finding out how it affected my computer, so I can prepare a strategy to remove it from my computer and deem my computer usable and functioning well. Now, one of the major issues is that even if you don't see symptoms on your computer, that does not mean that your computer is malware free. Someone can be spying on your keystrokes on your computer while you're typing it, and they don't want you to find out that there is malware, because the more time you spend having this malware and typing passwords to your bank, to your work, the more they can get that access and use it to attack. So sometimes it's not very obvious, and that's why nothing is more important than doing your due diligence in finding out the scope of the problem. Well, of course, I've used the skills I learned from the CEH and many other certifications that I had with EC Council and other certifications, and they're they're very valuable, I would say, especially for the CEH. And if I list the skills, I'll be pretty much listing or plagiarizing the material that was covered in the CEH course by EC Council. So, like I said in the previous questions, all the steps I said are based on my education and the certification and the reading and the studying I've done for CEH, plus 28 or more years of experience in IT. So to answer your question, did I benefit from the CEH? Absolutely. Absolutely. It's such an amazing certification exam. I cannot tell you how much I benefit from it. I even tell my students, I encourage them to take it because it pretty much jump-starts their career. And I want to talk about this for a minute here. I learned by doing. I started learning IT back in the 80s and the 90s, and this is when I developed my technical skills. Now, back then, we did not have the CEH, or at least I wasn't aware of it until 2005 when I started looking for certifications in cybersecurity. Now, have I known about CEH? If I gave enough attention to certifications back when I started my technical career, I would have probably been better. I would have probably saved a whole lot years and experience because they jumpstart. They give you a lot of information based on experience in the field, technical experience that is certified and verified to work very well. So I have learned a whole lot. I wish I have had my certifications earlier. Just in the 80s, we did not have such luxury because it wasn't as big and it did not exist at that time. So I learned the very hard way. I got attacked multiple times. I was able to counterattack and remove and secure my systems, remove the malware and secure my systems, that is. But definitely, have I had the CEH way back then, I would have been way more effective in jumpstarting my career and increasing my knowledge in huge chunks rather than the small increments I have done through hands-on experience alone. Well, before I give them an advice, I want to scare them first. Attacks from now on are not going to be handled by military as much as it used to be back 20 years ago. Attacks will happen on infrastructures. Attack will happen on organizations. Attack will happen to deprive us from our resources, whether business resources, natural resources, government resources, and so on. And this attack, I mean, if you think about it, military attack affects a geographical zone. You can do way more damage by affecting many corporations or government agencies, not in a single geographical zone, using cyber crime. So first, I want to scare everybody about it. This is real problem. This is the future of wars and terrorism. So don't take it lightly. Don't think you are insignificant. Don't think that nobody would be interested in hacking my computer because, what do? I just work 9 to 5, come back home. I do very simple stuff on the computer, maybe look at Facebook and stuff like that. Don't think that you are insignificant. Everyone is significant. And a small damage over a large population will create huge revenue and major effect on our resources. And when I talk about our resources, even hindering you from using your computer to do your business or to do your personal activities is a win towards the attacker. So the attacker wins if he prohibits you, if he forces you to go to your bank and prohibits you from doing online banking. So don't let them win. Take your precautions. Use critical thinking skills. Apply the best judgment. Read and read more about it because there's not enough. I can say you can never have enough reading about it because it changes every single day. So, I beg you, please do not take this lightly. this is going to be a huge problem, and it will continue to even get bigger and bigger as we rely more on computers. And well, yeah, maybe one of the solutions is to unplug your computers, put it in the closet, and not use it. But how effective are you going to be? So if you want to still rely on technology because it facilitates your life, it helps you accomplish more things, it helps you be more effective, then take the due diligence. It's like driving a vehicle. When you drive a vehicle, you have to make sure that you're doing your due diligence in driving that vehicle. You cannot drive reckless and expect that no problems will happen. Problems will happen. So computers and technology is something that we can take to our advantage. If we don't use it properly, it is going to be it's going to be causing a major problems for us in the future. Absolutely. Many attacks happen in universities, and universities are very well known to have weaker security systems. But when I think about nightmares of attacks, the one that comes to mind is the May 2021 attack on oil. How much did that cost you personally? The rising of the prices of oil, the lack of oil supply because of the attack on oil in May 2021. This is just one of the attacks. There are many other attacks that we might not be very familiar with because it was contained very quickly. But guess what? There will be more and more attacks like this. So what we need to do is to be very careful, to have a business continuity plan, business impact analysis. What you want to do is you want your business to continue regardless of the attacks. So you have to make sure that you address all the possibilities. If I got attacked, if this system got attacked, how can I continue to do business? Also, there is a very important concept that many certification organizations are promoting right now, which is zero trust. That is very important. And where's the fine line between zero trust and being able to do our business? That is something that has to be in the business continuity plan and business impact analysis and disaster recovery plan. Now, I know that the terminology might not be of a concern to you if you have a small business or if you're using technology at home, but always think about the simplest term. What is business continuity plan? It is being able to conduct my business or my reliance of technology even when I get attacked, even when my system goes down. And it can be as simple as having a generator or a power supply if I am reliant on my computer that much. So if I am without any power for 3 days, how I am going to continue to do my daily activities relying on technology without being affected by the problem? Or I also have to consider, well, how much downtime can I afford? If I got attacked and I'm down for 3 days, can I afford to be down for 3 days? If I cannot, then I have to find a solution. And maybe the solution is not to buy the best and the latest and a generator that can give me power for a month. Maybe I need to address the actual problem. If risk happens for 3 days, how can I make sure? If risk happens for 7 days, what is a tolerable amount of risk that I can take without affecting my daily technological reliance?